Okay, what's going on here? I'm trying to get my Instagram going. They don't know their language. They don't know their God. They say their grandmothers and grandfathers for nothing. We still in this ghetto, yeah. They end up in prisons. They end up in blood. They keep us uneducated, sick and depressed. We end up in. Doctor, I'm addicted, now I'm under arrest. Hey, hope you all are well today. They end up in. There's no hope for us. They end up in. Daughter of a rhyme from old ancient times, descendants of warlocks, witches with ill bitches. Hey. I hope you all are well. I'm back again. From old ancient times, descendants of warlocks, witches with ill bitches. I love this song. From old ancient times. Hey, 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 hey. From old ancient times. Hey, hey, hey. They don't know their language. They don't know their God. They take what they're given, even when it feels hard. They say their grandmothers and grandfathers worked hard for nothing. We still in this ghetto. They end up in prisons. They end up in blood. Okay, that was it. That was my intro. Y'all know I just got to give a little intro before I start my little thing. Just warming it up. Just want to welcome you all and thank you for coming here and being with me again today. I wanted to talk about accepting the season of health that you are in and pivoting your approach to your womb wellness. So this is the third video in a series that I started earlier on this week. We started off talking about, what to do when your doctors tell you your chances of conceiving are low. Then we talked about, is it too late? Did you wait too long to try to have your baby? And today I want to talk about accepting that place that you're in and how to pivot your approach to womb wellness. So the first thing is that you need to decide, you need to evaluate and decide. Oh, let me begin by introducing myself. Excuse me. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Odessa on YouTube and on Instagram here. My name is Odessa. I'm a womb wellness coach and I help women who are over the age of 30 with chronic reproductive health conditions who want to become pregnant in the next 12 months, prepare with natural medicine. So the first thing that you need to do is to decide and understand, evaluate the season of health that you are in, right? And this looks like understanding if your situation is chronic, is it acute? Do you have multiple layers? My children are coming in from outside, so you're going to hear some noise. Do you have multiple layers of issues that you're working with? Is it just one or two things that you're dealing with, right? Are you unsure of what your level of health is? Really getting a clear idea of where you are, right? So, example, are you experiencing excessive bleeding, right? Like how many days are you bleeding? Do you have very short periods, 21 days? Are you ovulating? Are you having cycles for longer than 35 days? Are you ovulating then? And does your bleeding go on for excessive amounts of time? Because sometimes it can last for months, for weeks, and for months on end. Just give me one quick second. My son has turned the volume up. I'm so sorry about that. Hey, Trini Cherry 21, nice to see you. So just kind of understanding this, right? Are you experiencing allergies? Do you have seasonal allergies? Do you have year-long allergies? Do you have allergies to animals, allergies to dust, allergies to food? Are you even aware if you have any allergies? Dairy, seafood, medicine, medication, right? Really evaluate, like, where is my wellness? What state is my body in? What is my season? What is the season that I'm in, right? Are you experiencing migraines? Do you experience migraines because you didn't eat food properly? Do you experience migraines because you were outside in the sun, because you smelt something? I know for me, it doesn't happen often, but I know when I was, eating dairy, after X amount of time, like, I would just have throbbing headaches. My eyes would be running, my nose would be running, and that was it for me. Like, 24 hours is what I needed. I need to go wash my face, put something on my face, and go lie down for 24. That's what I knew my state was when I was dealing with that season of health. Do you have fibroids, right? And are they small fibroids? Are they large fibroids? Are they pedunculated? Are they submucosal? Are they subserosal? Where are they located? On the cervix, on the fundus? Like, it's really important, like, where you to be able to dictate the season of health that you're in. You have to evaluate your wellness, right? Are you dealing with dysmenorrhea? Are you having extreme pain before your period? Do you have PMDD? Do you have, adenomyosis? Right? Dealing with? Do you have endometriosis? Sometimes, your the season of pain, the season of health that you're in, means that you're experiencing maybe a lot of pain during this particular time. Maybe the season of health that you're in means that you are experiencing small things that bother you. They never used to bother you before, but you notice it. Maybe things have always bothered you, but they've never stopped you from doing anything, right? And so you forget about it, but it's always there. So, like, you got to decide, and you have to understand that pastiche. You've got to understand that context. And when I speak with my clients, one of the first things that we do is we walk through your map, and we create a map of what it is that you're going through and where you're experiencing it and how long you've experienced it. And it helps us to create almost like a 3-dimensional painting. That's how I like to describe it. And it's like, you're looking at the painting just one-dimensionally, right? Or two-dimensionally, width and breadth. But then we go into the painting and we look around. How long was it there? When did you get it? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Who was involved? Why did it happen? And what did you do since that happened? So you've got to do this for you to be able to understand the season of health that you are in. Another way that you can look at it is by evaluating, is this season that I'm in urgent? Are these things that I'm dealing with urgent? Are these things that I'm dealing with important? Right? Are these health issues that I'm dealing with not urgent? Or are these health issues that I'm dealing with not important? Because there's always levels to it. Sometimes you might get that twitching on your eye, that really annoying twitch on your eye. Sometimes I'm like, is anybody seeing this? I'm in a conversation. Is this person seeing me do this? But, does this happen often? And is this a problem? Because if it does happen often, you probably might need more magnesium in your system. You know what I mean? If you're starting to get muscle twitches as well, right? So you have to understand, is it something that's niggling that doesn't need to be addressed? Or is this something that, comes back and it bothers me? It makes me think about it, like after the moment has passed, right? So, and is this something that you experienced as a child, right? Is this something that was happening as a child, or is this something that only began as a teenager, or something that began as an adult? So knowing and understanding these different levels of wellness that you're in and what season of wellness you're in is going to help to determine how you can pivot your womb wellness to be able to create a more cohesive experience for yourself, and also in that, hey, and also for you to understand how to move forward on your wellness journey, specifically if you're working towards getting your fertility in alignment and in rhythm for you to be able to have your children, especially if you're over the age of 30. So this is it. We need to be evaluating these different areas of our lives, because, oftentimes we think that we're living okay, that we're doing okay, and you're not. Right? Because like we live in a society that allows us to create illusions around us, right? You've got all this pain and discomfort, and you're over here talking about, it's okay, I'm fine, I'm all right. Okay, so Trini Cherry says, 21 says, I get those twitches of the eye at least once a month. And so that'll be interesting for you to know, Trini Cherry 21. When do you get it? Before your period, after your period, during your ovulation time? You know what I mean? Like, when does it happen? Because the body works in cycles. Everything works in cycles, and something works in connection, in conjunction to something else. The body won't tell you that there's a problem if there's no problem. It won't, it starts knocking on your wall from the inside, right? And only when we take that time to, acknowledge it, then we can start getting down to the bottom of it, as opposed to, I'm okay, but you're really not. So one of the first things I want you to do, this is more of a, if you want, you can take down notes, because I'm going to be, just giving you guys a lot of different ways and tools that you can help to evaluate and understand that season of health that you're in, to be able to pivot before my period and throughout my period. You see, this is very telling. This is very, very telling for me. So that's something that you need to consider: hydration and all of the things. Okay. So one thing we first need to do is acknowledge the laws of the universe. And I say the universe because that's just what it is, right? But you've got physical laws, you've got emotional laws, we've got mental laws, we've got spiritual laws, we have karmic laws, we have cosmic laws. We don't even know that we have them. We just kind of do our thing. Like, example, what goes up comes down. That's a law. What you give out comes back to you. That's a law. You know what I mean? There's laws of science and physics. We've got the whole periodic timetable, right? And these different elements, they work with one another, or they don't work with one another to create and destroy, right? This whole anabolism and catabolism, if I said the word properly, y'all, just bear with me, right? But these are laws that we live by. We're governed by them. We know that one hydrogen and two oxygen come together to create water, right? If that wasn't a law, then we wouldn't have water. You understand? And so we have to acknowledge these laws, right? And then we have to obey these laws, right? Like, what are these laws? Who are these laws for? Why are they there? And why should we obey them? Well, if the nature of the earth is to love, the nature of the planet is to hold into place. If we didn't have that, we would be floating. That's one of the laws of the planet, is gravity, right? Like, we are held onto the planet. We are able to maintain ourselves and stand up, and we're forcing ourselves up against gravity to be able to stand up. It needs to be in place for us to be able to function properly, right? And so when you can recognize that there are laws around you that you're either following or you're not following, then you're going to be able to navigate yourself differently, right? Because you're not working haphazardly, right? You're not working haphazardly. You're working and you're functioning within a system of things that help you for the greater good, right? And the more you acknowledge this, the more you recognize that state that you're in and how you interface with all of these different laws, all of the elements, all of the energy, that essence of spirit, the better chances you have of aligning yourself and getting yourself and being able to pivot your health specifically in a more effective and long-standing manner. So I want to talk about the physical laws because I can go into everything else, but that's not the goal of our call today, of our live today. So the physical laws that we need to begin acknowledging are rest. If you are pushing yourself beyond your capabilities and thinking that you're achieving the most, you're breaking one of the core laws of rest. You have to rest. How much rest do you need? Your body needs a minimum. Oh, I can get by on 5 hours. I didn't ask if you can get by. I asked you how much rest you need. Nutrition. Are you eating the right amounts of food? Are you eating the right food, first of all? Are you eating the right amount of food? Okay. And are you eating a good quality of the amount of food that you are eating? Okay. Physical activity. It's important. Listen, your bones cannot strengthen themselves unless you're moving physically. Like that's how bones strengthen themselves, right? If you are experiencing edema, if you experience swelling, especially if you experience swelling in the legs, you need to include movement into your daily routine. Why? The blood pumps from the left side of the heart, it goes out the left side, right? And it returns the right side. So it pumps out and it returns on the right side. But when it goes down to the legs, there's no heart down there to pump it up. It's the muscles from the calves that squeeze the blood back up into the heart. If you're not moving, the blood is not pumping up. And if it's not pumping up, what's it doing? It's pooling, right? These are just examples. So making sure you have the right amount of physical activity every day and every week is important. Sanitation and elimination. I'm going to put these two in the same category, right? Like, what do you need? How often are you going to the bathroom, right? Are you going to the bathroom regularly? Because I'm sure we're all going to the bathroom at some point. Because if you're not, then you're probably in the hospital because you're not going, right? But how often are you going? Are you having good quality movements? Is your urine clear? Is there blood? Is it cloudy? Is it what, like there's so many things to think about. Like we have to really create better habits around our daily activities. And these daily activities need to be respecting and acknowledging the physical laws that our elements, right? The body is made up of earth, mostly earth and water. The minerals are made up of earth, right? And water, right? That's what our body is made up of. And we need to have the right combination to be able to effectively achieve wellness. And so you have to recognize that season of health that you are in, especially if you're over the age of 30, because you're no longer quote unquote considered sprightly. Well, I am. I don't know about anybody else. But, like what age are you in? What illnesses have you dealt with? Are you recovering from pneumonia? Did you catch COVID? Like we're in COVID season right now, Are you in remission from cancer? Are you dealing with, long-term STIs? Like, listen, let's talk about it because some women are out here walking around with illnesses like, genital illnesses, reproductive illnesses, and not addressing them. So what season are you in? You've got to be honest about where you are. It's not and that's another thing, especially because of this elusive society that we're in. Like we like to lie to ourselves. Nah, I ain't feeling that. Sometimes I have conversations with people about their health, clients, and we'll be talking for a long time. And then it's weeks later, more stuff starts coming up. I'm like, I needed to know this before, I have friends of mine and I have conversations with them, and we get into deep conversations and they're asking me questions. Some of my really, really good friends, I'm like, ask me anything, I'll answer you. And, their thing is, well, I don't want to go through that process that you put everyone through. And I'm like, but sis, for me to give you a proper assessment, I need to understand that level of health. And so she's like, no, go ahead. I'm telling you everything. So there was a while where, she said that she had told me everything and I was, going through this process with her. And then I found out Months later, that she was dealing with a bleeding disorder. I was like, this changes a lot. This changes the herbs that you're using. This changes the amount of herbs and the length of time. We need to stop lying. Stop lying to yourself and stop lying to your practitioners about what you're doing. What is the actual season of health that you're in? Really, really establish that. Okay. So when we move forward from that, when you can be honest about that, okay, well, I'm suffering with this. This has been happening for so long. These are the symptoms that I'm having. This is what I've done. This is what I'm doing, right? Let's go to the next phase. Let's categorize them. Right? I mean, you can categorize these things on a scale of 0 to 5. You can go back to those physical laws and you can say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 5, how am I dealing with physical activity? For rest, 0 to 5, am I giving myself what I need? 0 being nothing, the least, and 5 being the most, right? You got to be honest. Nutrition, 0 to 5. Sanitation, 0 to 5. Let's really establish this. And then let's go back again to the first section of reflections that I gave you, right? Let's look at, we're looking at the level of illness that you're going through, right? So let's say Trini Cherry 21, you said that you get an eye twitch before your menstrual cycle and throughout. Okay, so is it urgent and important? Is this issue that I'm experiencing urgent and important? If it's urgent and important, you have to deal with this right now. If it's bothering you right now, if it's impeding on your daily activities, if it's stopping you from doing what it is that you have to do, you can't go to work, you can't think, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't bathe, you can't cry, you need to deal with it right now. If it's urgent, but it's not important, you've got to think about, okay, how can I delegate this? What am I going to do? Do I need to find a specialist? Do I need to speak to my general practitioner? Is there anyone who I need to have a conversation with, right? You got to start looking for that help type of thing, okay? Then the next level is it's not urgent and it's not important, right? And so, does this twitch come every single period? Does the twitch come once a quarter? I just have it once in a while. You don't have to think about it. They don't, you don't have to think about it. Okay. This doesn't have to be done right now. Our next level is it's not urgent, but it's important. And this is when am I going to do it? So it gets on the list. This is something that I need to address, right? This is something that I have to make sure and deal with this and put a deadline to it. I've got to call the dentist by, May 31st. I have to make a follow-up appointment with my OBGYN, and I want to see her before September. I'm going on a trip in March. Oh gosh. I'm going on a trip in October, in November. And, I've been dealing with this issue. I just need to, and it takes a long time to get an appointment with her. I need to make this appointment right now, right? So when am I going to get this done? You have to make sure and understand, right, how you're going to position yourself moving forward, how you're going to be putting things on the calendar moving forward. We need to just start addressing this and getting it done, because this hold off, I'm okay, but I'm not, I'm limping, but I don't want people to see, my allergies are ruining my life, but I just put makeup on. We don't want to do this anymore. It's 2021. We're moving forward with this, right? So these are things that I work through with my clients. These are things. Is jumping eye the same as twitching eye? For me, I say yes. That the eyelid, the bottom of the top eyelid that's twitching. For me, that's what it is: the jumping eye or the twitching eye. If that's not how you define it, then it might be something else. But that's usually how I define it. But so these are things that I work through and I walk through, especially during my MAP process and the first phase of my 3-phase protocol. So when I work with my clients, I sit down with you for a minimum of 3 months and we're averaging 6 months, especially if you're dealing with chronic health conditions, right? And so if this is what you're dealing with, in the first phase of my 3-phase protocol, we're going to sit down and we're going to look at the MAP, your multidimensional awareness and assessment protocol. And we're going to look at all of these things. We have to comb through your health. We have to comb through your history. We have to comb through all the layers and the levels of who you are to be able to understand that season that you're in, so we can make the appropriate tweaks and checks and turnarounds for you to get the level, for you to start right at the starting line to be able to get the results that you're looking for, right? And so I do this in my 6-month incubator, and we just go further and we delve inside of that. But if you feel as though you've arrived at a point in your life where you need to sit down and you need to evaluate that season of health that you're in so you can pivot your womb wellness, I invite you to go ahead, come into my DMs, have that conversation with me. Hey, Odessa, I saw your live and I really want to have that conversation. Or you can go straight to the link in my bio and you can book a next step call with me. And on that call, before we get on that call, actually, once you've filled in the questionnaire, the mini questionnaire, before we actually get on the call, I'm going to send you a pregnancy prep assessment form, like a little mini test. And you'll take this test. It's going to take you about 15 to 20 minutes to fill in. And this is going to help you to determine the gaps in your wellness, like where are you missing pieces? Remember, I was talking about that painting and that picture that we create, that we walk into and create a multidimensional experience, right? So you can walk around, the room or the landscape that you have around you to be able to gain a better understanding. And so that little quiz, it's very straightforward. It'll help you to determine those gaps. And then when you come to our next step call, when we get on our suitability call, then we'll be able to have that discussion to say, okay, well, this is where you've been and this is where you want to go. And this is the gap between there. And these are the things that you may have to consider before you move forward on that. So this is really what it was, friends. We started off listening to some Erykah Badu. You can go back and catch me singing. I was just giving you something there, but I really wanted to make sure and have that conversation with you so you all understand that the season of health that you're in really determines how you're going to pivot, because what one person is experiencing is not the same thing as what another person is going to experience, right? If you've been living with, all of a sudden you have excessive bleeding that's happening right now in the last year, you're not in the same position as someone who has always had excessive bleeding. If you have never had birth control in your life, and you're experiencing a difficult time getting pregnant, then, your experience is not the same as someone who, maybe had a baby before, did have birth control, came off of birth control and can't get pregnant. They may not be the same thing. Maybe the approach is the same, but the journey is not the same, right? If you have been in remission from an illness, from cancer, from, pneumonia, from COVID, your experience is not the same thing as a woman who is, dealing with 6 or 7 pedunculated fibroids on their uterus, right? So it's important for us to understand what season of health that you're in. It's important for you to understand that. And once again, I'm all about that autonomy. I'm all about you knowing your body first. You've got to know what is going on in your body so that you can best communicate it to your primary caregiver, because your primary caregiver is going to be speaking from their therapeutic experience, from their clinical experience and what they've seen with people. But not every person has the same experience of the same thing, right? And just to kind of like break off in there, like where someone might be experiencing a damp heat, another person might be experiencing, damp coldness, of the same experience. So you might have a cold, and I'll just kind of explain that to you a little bit further. You might have a runny nose, and the mucus that's coming out of your nose might be clear. Whereas someone else is having a runny nose and the mucus coming out of their nose is green. These are two different experiences of what's happening in the body. There's cold happening in one person's body. There's heat happening in another person's body. There might be an evolution of that cold. The person who's experiencing the green mucus might have an evolution, right? Might be further along on that path. It might, the illness might be leaving their body now, whereas the clear mucus might be mucus that's just starting. You see? So there are different levels to this. There's different layers to this. Trini Cherry 21 says, do you deal with men as well or just women? So I do deal with men, but I usually tend to focus on just women, or my clients will bring their husbands to me, right? For them to be able to be seen and worked on and get the kind of care and attention that they need. I do not solicit men necessarily, but I have had and I do work with male clients, but my preference is to focus on women. But actually within my 6-month incubator, I'm considering really bringing in partners to be able to work cohesively, simultaneously with their partners, because fertility is a family thing. It's a group thing, and so that's what I wanted to share with you all today. So really take time. Really take the time. If you need to, come back, review this call, review the questions that I've asked you, and let's get some clarity on where you are so that you can pivot. You would like that? Well, definitely, you are more than welcome to fill in the assessment form, and let's book a call so that we can have this conversation. I would love to chat with you to see where you're at and how I can be of service to you. And so with that, y'all, it is 12:45. Virtual schooling has begun here. I've used all of my time to talk with you, and I got to feed my children. So I'm going to go and take care of that. But as always, it's always a wonderful experience sharing this work with you. This is my passion. This is my love. And I hope to see you all again in a couple of days. I'm done for this week, but I'm going to come back on next week and have more conversations with you. Thank you again. Take care. Be well.